Shabbat Shalom. This November, I will be cheering on a friend who is running in the New York Marathon. If I could somehow turn back time, go back a few years, and tell him he would be running the marathon, he would never have believed me. But after a difficult doctor's appointment, when he found that he was in great need of a lifestyle change, he started a new path that changed the course of his life. Here we are on Shabbat Shuva, a kind of bridge between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. And we ask ourselves, how have we gotten to this place in time? Am I living up to my core values? What changes do I need to make? This is why the holy day of Yom Kippur is so brilliant. It compels us to do the kind of soul-searching that can potentially lead to meaningful change in our lives. Yom Kippur observance compels us to confront our own mortality. It pushes us to confront the infinite nature, the finite nature of our lives. The stakes don't get any higher. Yom Kippur is a kind of rehearsal for death. We refrain from eating. Traditionally, we wear a white kittel, the traditional garbs that Jews are buried in. We recite confessional prayers, as is the tradition upon confronting death in the Jewish tradition. And we read words that say, on Rosh Hashanah it is written, and on Yom Kippur it is sealed, who shall live and who shall die. And although we understand this prayer as a metaphor to help us reflect on the fragility of life, it presents the ultimate confrontation. The truth is, many of us spend a good part of our lives trying to avoid the reality of death. Young children always ask, will I die? Will you die? Why do we die? Somewhere along the way, we learn to stop asking and just let the questions hang in the background. The practice of Yom Kippur forces us to come face to face with the existential truth that we are all but dust, and death is inevitable. But remembering this serves a very powerful purpose. Every year at Yom Kippur, we have the opportunity to radically shake ourselves up and gain new perspective. We intentionally make ourselves vulnerable so that we can begin a process of renewal. We humble ourselves and we open ourselves to a new learning. Rabbi Hanina ben Idi said, "Why are the words of Torah likened to water? In order to indicate that just as water leaves the high places and goes to the low places, so the words of Torah leave the one who is haughty and stay with the one who is humble." Yom Kippur asks us to wallow in the place of humility. It says, stay here. Stay in this place so that you can make room for God. Humility is necessary for growth. We need to pull back to create space for change. The Kabbalists taught that even God pulled back to create space for change. They said that before the creation of the universe, Ein Sof, infinite God, withdrew itself into its essence. Ein Sof contracted into itself to leave an empty space into which it could emanate and lead to creation. We too need to be able to pull back our perspectives and desires to become more aware of others, other ways of being, and other choices that are available to us, and the fullness of God's creation. In many ways, Yom Kippur is precisely about forging an intense connection with God. In fact, the word atonement can be parsed to read at one-ment. We make ourselves open to God's presence, and in doing so, we have the opportunity to experience great joy, a sense of bitachon, inner security, profound trust in God's presence and benevolence, and find more meaning and purpose in our lives. When Rabbi Moshe of Kobrin died, The Kotzker Rebbe asked one of his disciples what things his master had considered to be most important. The man answered, always what he was engaged in at the moment. Ultimately, our goal is to return to ordinary life with a deeper sense of purpose, self, and place in the world. The day of Yom Kippur is important, but not more important than the day after that and the day after that. The goal is to engage in ordinary days that follow in ways that live up to our ideals. Mary Oliver wrote in her poem, The Summer, "Doesn't everything die at last and too soon? Tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life?" The high holy days are opportunities for renewed clarity and strength of purpose for all the days that follow. We are not perfect, we acknowledge this, but we also believe in the possibility to change. Teshuvah, the Hebrew word, means to turn back, to turn around, to return. Our liturgy asks us to number our days so that we may fill them with abiding worth. What shall we do with our time? May we be blessed with humility and courage to see our lives clearly, to return to paths of goodness and forge new ones. May it be so. Shabbat Shalom.